Test. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is going on? Let's go, Brandon. Hold on. Oh, man. Get this out of the way. Oh, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing? How are we doing today? I swear, man, I'm gonna get this production stuff right eventually. You guys just take it easy on me. We'll get there. We'll get it right eventually. See what chat's saying here. You guys got nothing good to say, man. Yo, Samantha, what is up, Sam? Sam, I am. Let me see if I can actually increase the size of this. Yes. Godfather J6, yo, what's up, Rags? Hey, everybody, hope all is well. HOA, yo, what is good? Steak, JDB, what is up, dude? Now, I think what we're gonna do, I need to, again, it's got all this new technology. I'm gonna adjust these levels down. I listened to it yesterday. It was a bit loud. All right, let's bring it down to that level. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Cool. So here we are. Sleek, Anthony Munoz, Sweet Sweater. Yeah, dude, I love this. I love my champion stuff here. I love it. Crypto Heartbeat, the blue eyes are distracting. You made me smile, Crypto Heartbeat. I hate it. Like so much, RH Tweeter Live. Francis Powell, hello. At Saki. Wow, dude, I haven't seen you in a while. D Marino, what is good? RH crushing on spaces right now. Good. Well, the reason that we are convening here today is because we have quite a bit to go over. We have a guy, and you guys know I do this quite a bit. We have a gentleman that is calling Hex a scam. So obviously I've done tons of these videos and I'm going to give it my very best. I'm going to try to be just very straightforward, very matter of fact. And maybe some of his followers, and maybe he kind of takes a look at this and then gives Hex a second chance here. Maybe. We will see. But typically people don't give it a second chance. But here's the funny thing. They don't really take the time to learn about it. So we'll do some of the first stuff here. You guys know what we're going to do here. We're just going to take a look at the charts. Let's see. Share screen here. So in terms of the charts here, you guys know what we're doing. Let's check it out. Let me move these down. Let's go to Bitcoin. Check out Bitcoin here. We'll get into it. Charts, outstanding. Cool. Okay. Bitcoin chopping about at this level. Let's see if some of the uncovered Bitcoin from all these liquidations and all these bankruptcies and the market reverting back to its mean, let's say if this free floating Bitcoin gets sold off, triggers something to the downside. I think, yeah, we had another exchange this morning that is halting withdrawals. We can't say it enough. If you keep your coins on exchanges, you get wrecked. I saw some random person on Facebook that I haven't talked to in a long, long time just kind of ask Facebook, hey, listen, is there any shot at me getting my FTX back, my crypto on FTX? And the unfortunate answer is probably not. So that's just how the game goes. Let's see if anything does dump. If we do dump, the first major levels that we're going to be looking at is about 14,000, and then underneath that, about 12,000. I probably expect some sort of wicking down to those levels, popping back up. But guys, I really believe over the next 6 to 8 months that we're going to find our bottom. I think that's a fact, as discussed on my stream yesterday about where I thought the bear market would end and the bull market would begin. So we'll see. Let's check it out Ethereum here. Again, we know that these liquidity pairs are tied up together, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So when Bitcoin pumps, Ethereum tends to pump. When Bitcoin drops, Ethereum tends to drop as well. So we're at kind of these levels here. We'll chop back and forth here. If it falls underneath, we always know that price tends to like to go to previous levels that it's wicked down to. It's kind of like a magnet. So price did touch on June 17th of 2022 about $876 for Ethereum. So we will see if we get back down to those levels. As a betting man here, I would assume that we probably will. Again, price is attracted like a magnet down here. I don't think this is capitulation selling. I didn't think we had much of a ramp up in terms of volume. Let's see if these levels hold. I doubt they will. I think we go down further, 800. I think maybe we could even get down to 650, 630. We'll check. Hex price here. Let's check. That's why we're here. We are going to do a reaction video like we always do. Some people on the internet don't really like Hex that much, but we'll get to kind of go over everything. And we'll get to react live here. So, Hex, same situation here. We're defending 3 cents pretty well. We've been defending 3 cents pretty well ever since June. So, July, August, September, October, November, we're about 5-6 months in. Will we be able to defend this forever? I don't know. But one thing I will say, there is definitely demand for Hex in these levels, as evidenced by this. Somebody tried to sell price off. It wicked way down. But it got bought up within 5 minutes very, very quickly. So these are some really, really good levels to be accumulating in, especially if it drops under 3 cents. Again, you guys can go to matcha.xyz. You can set limit orders, and you can become the market maker and the market taker. Be very aware of that. Mr. Gwen says, love this kind of content. Thank you, Max Statico. Be lucky if there's an exchange left in 6 months to buy the bottom. Yep. Crypto Compassion. What is up? SusKM. What is us? SusKM. Christy Naya. What's up, Christy? Magnus. Good stuff here, folks. All right. I'm not going to waste too much time. We're going to kind of get into this. I will introduce you to this gentleman. This is the dark side of the Podocasts, 5,950 subs. And let's go to the about. There's a Discord, there's a Telegram, the philosophy of cryptocurrency. And he says, I get it. We all want to make money, but there is something deeper about crypto, and that is change from the status quo of fiat. This industry is barely in its infancy. Change takes time, change takes effort, change takes willpower. When something is broken, you fix it, and the fiat currency system is broken. If we can make a buck off it, so much the better. The more this grows, the less you will hear the expression buck. Once in a generation, there's an opportunity to affect real change. So I was sent a video that he did pretty recently, I think yesterday or the day before. and they had some of their members ask them to do a take on Hex. So he did a take on Hex, and he admittedly says he only spent 20 minutes on it, and he was able to tell that it was a scam within that 20 minutes pretty quickly. So I do what I always do. I'm going to do a live reaction. We're going to take some of his main points, and I'm just going to kind of talk directly to it. I will turn off the music so you guys can kind of focus on the content here. I will also say that he does have a membership site here. So he's turned on memberships. So he does have members that are paying every month for this content as well. And we're going to kind of get into this. So I think we're right here. All right. And we'll go. Let's see what happens here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and kittens, welcome back to the podcast, and thank you. I'm a little bit shocked at this one. I'm literally a little bit shocked that I'm actually making this video. The only reason I'm doing it is because I've gotten a lot of requests. People kind of hit my live streams and say, "Tell me about Hex," and it comes up on the podcast Discord on occasion. So I said, "Okay, we'll take." Take a look at X. I'm going to try here, guys. I promise. This one's going to be tough. All right. This one's going to be double tough because it's rare, just very, very rare that you see something this obvious and this scammy that it still continues to this date. You just went through FTX. You just saw how bad monetary policies and bad ideas will lead you to the.
Okay. So right off the bat, he's comparing Hex to FTX. I heard people in the past compare Hex to Celsius. I've heard them compare Hex to Voyager. I've heard them compare Hex to Three Arrows Capital. I've heard people compare Hex to these centralized entities. And from that point forward, from this point in the video onward, we know right now that this guy has absolutely no clue how Hex actually works or operates, or how the smart contract performs its functions. So to compare Hex to FTX is simply like comparing night to day. All right, so I say that, but let me back it up. FTX is a centralized custodial entity that uses other people's money to create spot leverage positions. FTX commingles funds. FTX created an environment of gross mismanagement of customers' money. FTX had massive conflicts of interest, improper financial relationships with its partner company, Alameda. The whole point of this is FTX is centralized, okay? It's completely centralized. The beauty about Hex is it is completely decentralized. Completely decentralized. There is no company, right? No company associated with Hex. It's just you and the contract. The Hex contract does not invest in other assets. There are no leverage plays with Hex. You hold your keys. You hold your coins. You trade trustlessly on the internet. You don't have to beg the Hex contract to give you your tokens. You don't have to plead with the Hex contract to withdraw your tokens. You mint your own rewards by time locking if you choose. If you choose. Hex is freedom. Hex is complete control. There's a big difference. Centralized versus decentralized. Hex is the epitome of decentralized.
Path of ruin, but for some reason this thing carries on. So we took a little bit of time and dug into it, and where I say took a little bit of time, I'm talking 20 minutes. So there's more. There's so much more to plumb here, but I kind of wanted to get this out, get it out of the way, so you know where I stand on this. Now, I'm going to start with the very first part. It's just easier. I'm going to go on their website. That's probably the best way to do this. Hex.com, how it works. This is great. So they are talking about a certificate of deposit. That's the premise for this particular scam, is a certificate of deposit. You can get these in any bank. All right, any bank will give you a CD. It's not a problem. You put it in, leave it in for a fixed amount of time, you get out this value plus interest. But the difference here is that if you do it through a traditional bank, you know what they're using that money for. So you give them money, you know how that money is going to be put to use.
So he says the difference. He says the difference with the traditional bank is that you know what they are using the money for. Okay, so he's implying that you don't know what the money is being used for in Hex, which again is a fallacy because the Hex contract doesn't use the money that's locked up. That's the difference. The bank actually uses your US dollars, which is also a very interesting point. And we'll kind of get into that for a second. When you agree to lock your tokens for an amount of time that you choose with the Hex contract, from 1 day to 5,555 days, the contract pays you trustless yield in the form of additional Hex tokens. Okay? This was inspired by Bitcoin mining in the way that they receive rewards for Bitcoin for securing the network. Hex pays additional Hex to the staking class for helping secure the value and prop up the value of Hex. There's a big difference there. There's a big difference with that. The statement that you made, absolutely, it doesn't make any sense to me. Trying to compare a bank to a smart contract that's decentralized, that if you choose to lock up your tokens, you will receive yield with additional tokens. Very, very important point for you and your listeners here. 90% of Hex tokens are not locked. 90% of Hex tokens are not locked. If you choose to, you can be 10%. You can be the staking class of 10% that locks their tokens and receives yield. Very, very. Now, the other thing is most people don't even understand. You mentioned traditional banks. You say you know how the money's being used. And you bring up an interesting point that most people that I do these reaction videos with, they don't understand. And the question is, what exactly does the bank actually do with the money that you deposit with them? What do you think they do? Most people think they just take those deposits and they lend out money with those deposits. Well, it's not quite that simple. Okay, there's fractional reserve banking, for example. And the reason I'm going into this, it's going to paint a stark contrast to what Hex is. It's different. It's similar and different, but I'm going to show you why it's different. So let's say there's $1 million worth of deposits on the bank ledger. So a bunch of different customers have come in and they deposited their money and they've agreed to a certain interest rate with those deposits, which is, by the way, very small, 2 to 3% typically. My question to you is, did you know that they take that money, they go to a bigger bank, or in some cases, if the bank is already very large and they've got 50 million, 100 million, $1 billion on deposit, billions of dollars, they're going to go to the Federal Reserve Bank and they are going to get a loan on the money that is deposited in the account, in the bank account. They're going to take a loan off of all those deposits. That turns that money, instead of an asset, that turns that money into a liability. So they're going to take, let's just say $1 million for a small bank, and they go to a bigger bank and they say, hey, will you lend me 10x the money? Here's the collateral. Here's the deposit. Lend me 10x the money. Now I can take $10 million. I can pay a very, very low interest rate, very low, almost nothing, like 1%, 2%, 3%. I can pay a very low interest rate to the bank that I took the loan from, and then I only have to pay my depositors 2% over 5 years, right? And then you look at all the products that they loan out. After they have that 10 million, they take that 10 million and they leverage that out. They're getting 30% on personal loans, right? They're getting 20% on car loans. Credit cards, they're getting interest from. They're getting interest on all of these products that they borrowed because you put money into the bank. You deposited that money and they used that as leverage. Did you know that that's how that worked with the CD? So they're making an absolute killing on that money. And you're getting paid absolutely nothing for that money. Absolutely nothing. Pennies. Pennies. You cannot account for what they are giving you back. You can't account because you don't know where that money is used. You have no clue about how that money is put to use. You don't know how high risk or low risk that money is being used for. Banks go insolvent. Banks go through bankruptcy. Banks get into situations and negotiations and deals that cause them to go bankrupt, causes them to go insolvent. That's the beauty about Hex. Here's the beauty. It's you in the contract, just like Bitcoin. A miner gets paid for propping up security on the network. Hex gets paid. People get paid in Hex. They mint their own rewards. If they stake, if they're one of the 10% that stake, they will get additional rewards paid in Hex from the smart contract. There's no man out there that's pressing a button that says, okay, Brandon, you've served your 2 years. You've served your 1 year. You served your 15 years. You served your 2 weeks. You've served your 30 days. I'm going to go ahead and give you your yield. No, it's not like that. It's you and the smart contract. Very, very simple. Very low inflation rate, up to 3.69% per year. And the stakers get paid that inflation. They get rewarded for propping up price, for delaying gratification and holding. So
you can actually account for what they're giving you back. This is very, very simple. Nice, easy stuff. We've been doing it for years. It's existed in legacy for years. People have loaned out money and gotten money back with interest. So that's the premise for this particular scam. But
that's the premise for this particular scam. So it's funny that the title of this says Hex Token. People say it's a scam. Is it? You be the judge. And now you're calling it a scam. Are you letting people be the judge? Are you giving them the facts about how this contract works? The one thing that you all have in common that slam Hex is that you never explain how it works. You don't ever explain how it works. You have no clue. I think most people just do a quick Google search on the internet and they see what everybody else is saying and they go with it, which is normal human behavior, unfortunately. That is normal human behavior. So, he calls it a scam, and I'm going to say this. You know what? Let's see here. Let's let him keep
there's
talking.
so many better ways that they could have done this. I'm just saying, look, man, if you're going to be a scam, be a good one. Be a good scam. At least put some effort into it. Try to provide a little bit of rationality for what you're going to be putting people.
If you're going to be a good scam, be good at it. Provide a little bit of rationality. Here's what's interesting. On this page where it says Hex is the first high-yield blockchain certificate of deposit, you don't hear him reading what's underneath. Okay? It says CDs, known as certificate deposits or time deposits, are worth trillions of dollars. CDs are worth more than gold, credit card companies, and cash. CDs pay higher interest than savings accounts, requiring money to be deposited for a fixed time. So wait a minute, you're saying that in CDs, people are required to lock up their money for a fixed time? Kind of like what Hex does? Is there some similarity there? Sure. Banks profit on poor customer service, early withdrawal fees, and auto-renewing at worse rates. They pay pitifully low interest. New money is printed all the time, making yours less valuable. Hex monetizes the time value of money in a totally new and better way. It takes the concept of CDs to the next level. Hex replaces inefficient currencies, banks, and payment networks with verifiably secure peer-to-peer technology. My friend, there is the context that you seek. You want to call this a scam, and you say you guys can be a better scam by actually providing some type of description or some type of rationality for what you're doing. So I don't really understand what argument you're trying to make here. The big part here is, in order for other people to understand, sometimes we use existing concepts that are already out there in the ether, to help communicate to the people that you're talking to what this new thing that they are seeing is. Right? So you talk about things in the past to help describe this new thing that is here now. Hex is most similar to a CD in the traditional finance system, and that is the point being made. And I think that if you do read the context under these headlines that you aren't reading, you would understand that a little bit better. So what do I mean by that? How did we describe bows and arrows when they first came out? We used the projectile concept of heaving a stone through the air. Okay, so after a while, how do we describe cannons when they came out? Well, we used the projectile concept of bows and arrows to describe cannons. You're still shooting something through the air at very high speeds. However, it's different. You use gunpowder. You use a barrel to be able to harness that force forward. Okay? It's a little bit different. What was the problem with cannons? They were unwieldy. They were heavy. And then they turned them into miniature size, small pole mounted cannons. They were carried by foot soldiers. Eventually they evolved into muskets, and they evolved into handguns. The point is, we take what we knew before, and we take that and we help communicate and describe what this new thing is. And that's what this website is doing at hex.com. They're taking the concept of a CD, and they're saying Hex is very similar to the CD, but with better features and better benefits for the user. And I think it's important to point that out. All right.
Through, if you're going to take their money, and you are, I mean, that's it. I went to Etherscan.io. It took about 5 minutes to figure out what they're actually doing here. But if you're going to go through all...
He took a look at Etherscan.io, and in 5 minutes, he figured out the scam. He figured it out, folks. I'm very interested to see what that is.
All of this stuff, at least be, a little bit more... Try to sell it. Try to sell it a little bit better. A couple of the things I look for, and we've had good long discussions about this. As soon as you have to disclaim, I'm not a Ponzi scheme, I'm not a scam, you likely are. You likely are. And I have so many of ICP feel from this that it was just amazing. Hex is a Nobel Prize worthy.
Okay, so he says if you have to disclose that you're a scam, then you're probably a scam. Okay. You're going to need a little history and background about what's happening here. This is very important. For 2 years, 2.5 years, the crypto community at large proclaimed that Hex was a scam, partly because they're typically not very motivated to learn what the contract actually does. Partly because they're Bitcoin maximalists, where everything is a scam but Bitcoin. Partly because they hate the outrage marketing of Richard Hart, and then partly because it's different and it's a little bit difficult to understand without taking a look at it. It's not one of those things where you can just get it in 5 minutes. It could take somebody who understands how it works sitting down with you and saying, hey, this is how it works. It's not the most simple of contracts. But once you understand it, it makes complete and total sense. It just takes a little time. But we live in such an instant gratification society that taking a little bit of time, you took 20 minutes and you figured Hex out. I don't think many people in this world could take 20 minutes and really have a full understanding of Hex unless they sat down with somebody and knew. But you don't want to put the time in. You are quick to proclaim that this is a scam, when in fact, some of the projects, and you know what? You didn't know, but some of the projects that you shilled actually are securities. And actually are scams. We won't talk about that right now. We'll talk about that in a second. So, I think that you are being, in a way, intellectually dishonest and lethargic by not actually understanding this and then communicating with your paid members what exactly this is. That's really how I feel. So, because there has been so much hate and vitriol, with no evidence, hate and vitriol, no victims, no Hex scam victims, because there's been so much, one of the biggest questions that you hear from new people coming into the space after doing a quick Google search is this hex a scam? Because that's what you saw in the past. Now we're moving away from that now. We're moving away quite a bit. I mean, people have now looked into it and understand the premise behind what hex actually is. But it was the prevailing narrative, which is why it is on the website. So I wanted to make you aware of that.
Economics breakthrough. Of course it is, because if it is, you need to put that on your website. Hex may be the first financial product in history, ever, guys, ever, with so many billions of dollars being truly time locked for 15 years at a time, more than 5 years on average, in bonds, CDs, you name it. You can just sell anytime, almost like it's your money, that you can just decide, you know what, I'm done, I'm out. In Hex, you are actually locked up for a long time. No breaking your word. You cannot sell without severe penalties, period. Delayed gratification is
interesting. So he is making the point that in traditional bonds, certificates of deposit, things of that nature, you are able to just sell and walk away. And then he says that in Hex, you are literally locked up and there is nothing that you can do. If you end it early, he's making the insinuation that you lose all of your money. Very interesting here. All right, let's go with this. So with certificates of deposit, if you agree to lock up for 5 or 10 years, you can sell at any time. That is true. But as with many financial products, there are penalties associated with selling. There are penalties. You will lose your interest and your principal. You will. That's the truth. In Hex, if you agree to lock up, you can sell at any time, but there are also penalties. You're framing this in such a way that Hex is different from anything else out there, and that because there are penalties associated with not keeping your word, when you say that you're going to stake for a week or stake for a year or stake for 5 or 10 or 15 years, you're implying that is different, and it's not. It is not different. You can still end your stake early. You will have a severe penalty or a non-severe penalty depending on how long that you have served that stake. And again, I want to point this out. There's only 10% of people that are actually staked in Hex. Otherwise, if there was no staking, I would find it difficult to see many people actually fudding this project, because without the staking, it's just like everything else. With the staking, it's very similar to Bitcoin. Very, very similar to Bitcoin. So you're framing this in such a way that Hex is different than everything else with regards to penalties and with regards to keeping your word. Let me ask you this. What type of tax penalties are there with savings accounts? What type of tax penalties are there with 401ks? What about IRAs? What about other financial products in different markets across the world that do the same types of things? And just a reminder to your audience, you're not required to stake Hex. Once again, you do not have to. Only about 10% do. You will receive penalties in traditional finance if you don't keep your word or don't stick to the plan. And that is very, very similar with Hex. Very similar. All right, let's see.
king. You are actually locked up for a long time. No breaking your word. You cannot sell without severe penalties, period. Delayed gratification is king. You're going to put it in and you're going to leave it there whether you like it or not. We're helping you. We're doing you.
No, it is not whether you like it or not. You have the choice to get it out. You do. And what else did he say here? Let's go back 5 seconds.
You're going to leave it there whether you like it or not. We're helping you. We're doing you a big favor.
We're helping you and doing you a big favor. That's what he says here. Interesting. Here's my response to that. Delayed gratification is king. And sometimes there has to be some sort of pain to protect people from themselves. We see that time and time again across society. This is an incredibly true statement. If I go to a financial advisor and I tell him that I want to be a millionaire after 25 years, I want to be a millionaire. Does that financial advisor teach me to day trade or swing trade? Does that financial advisor teach me to day trade or swing trade? No, he doesn't. He teaches me to delay gratification and dollar cost average. He teaches me to get into tax-free or tax-deferred vehicles that have a pain conditioning feature built into them. Because if you get out of those early, then you are going to be severely penalized via taxation. It was created that way on purpose to keep people in. Time locking these tokens hedges against yourself. More people get wrecked by their own decisions in crypto rather than decentralized exchanges or any other negative externality. It's people wrecking themselves because they can't stick to it. They can't delay their gratification. And that's human behavior. So now, if you had held Bitcoin from the start, how many millions and millions of X's would you have received? But no. People sold on the first double. People sold on the second double, the third double, the fourth double, the fifth double, the sixth double. And if they had forced themselves to hold, they would be much more wealthy. That's how crypto goes. That's why they always say, hey, don't sell when you're in the stock market and there's a downturn. Just accumulate. The average rate of turn is XYZ in the stock market. Now, why is that? That's because of inflation, right? But the same thing goes for crypto. And I'll say this, with all due respect, it's always difficult to digest the smugness coming from these sorts of videos. But I will say this, I do understand where you're coming from. And I've been fighting my entire life to remove myself from that groupthink type thing. It's intellectual dishonesty, and it's very hard to remove that. Seeing something this different in crypto makes it very to hexsearch.io. Go to hexsearch.io and you can kind of talk about, you could do keyword searches for pretty much anything that Richard said. One of the things that he said was he is so lavish and he is so loud and he uses outrage marketing to cut through the noise. I tend to believe that Richard is probably the best marketer in cryptocurrency because the attention is always on him. He has an incredible contract that works flawlessly. However, people see Richard and say, because Richard is the way that he is and the way that he's marketing, the contract has to be a scam. It's very difficult for people to separate that, but it's evidence that it works because you are creating a FUD reaction to the Hex contract. You and many, 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 many others have done the same thing. And it's actually spreading the word. And then I get the opportunity to come in and back clean up and kind of correct you on some of your assumptions about the Hex contract. So let's get into it.
The Hex share rate system might be worthy of another Nobel Prize. It isn't. It absolutely isn't. But I'm loving their website. We'll break it out. Don't take my word for it. Let me show you. So I went over to the FAQ because I wanted to look into this a little bit more. And I love this line right here. Is Hex a Ponzi pyramid scheme, MLM scam, ICO, or security? No. Well, duh. There it is, guys.
So tell me why it is. Is Hex a Ponzi? Is Hex a pyramid scheme? Is Hex an MLM, a scam, an ICO, or a security? Can you tell me why? Is it a Ponzi scheme? Is it taking the returns of newer investors and paying out those returns to the older investors? Is that what it's happening? Does it have levels? Is it a pyramid scheme? There are levels to this thing? No, there aren't. Is it an MLM? No, it's not. It's just you and a contract. There were referral links at the very beginning, referral right at the launch of Hex, but those have gone, and that's par for the course with many cryptocurrencies. Was it an ICO? No, it wasn't. Was it a security? No. Does it pass the Howey test? No, you don't want it to pass the Howey test. Do you know what the Howey test is? The Howey test proves whether or not something is a security. According to the Howey test, which is the primary standard that the SEC actually uses to prove that something is a security, it must qualify with one of the following, or actually all of the following it must qualify. It's a table and there's 4 legs. If one of the 4 legs is missing, it's not a security. So the statement is, an investment contract exists if there's an investment of money in a common enterprise with reasonable expectation of profit to be derived from the efforts of others. 1, investment of money. Was there an investment of money in a common enterprise? No, there was not an investment of money in a common enterprise. There is no company or enterprise with Hex. None. 0. Hex is not a business or a company. There are no expectations of profits either. Rewards are paid in Hex, and rewards paid in Hex do not guarantee profit due to the market value of those said Hex tokens. You could accumulate Hex tokens, but that does not mean that there is a promise of any sort of return in US dollar standards. Does not promise that. There are none. So profits are not derived from the work of others. There is no Hex company. There is no marketing team. There is no overhead. There is no building. There are no salaries. There is no insurance. There's nothing like that. It's not derived from the profits of others, from a centralized entity. It is you investing in the contract. You and you alone. And you mint your own rewards. And when many people, individuals who decide to do the same, interact with the contract on their own, sometimes price goes up, and then sometimes price goes down because people sell. Very, very simple. This is very different from most anything else that's out there. And it's because there is no centralized entity governing how this contract works. It is immutable. There are no administrative keys. It launched as a finished product. Nothing else needed to be done to it. It launched and then it's gone. If Richard Hart passes away, it's going to be the exact same thing. It's going to operate the exact same way. Let's keep going.
Look, don't take my word for it. It's on their website. And this is actually a link. I clicked that up and this actually links you over. Well, there it is. See that? Hex is not a scam. You don't worry about that. All right.
All right. So I just want to point this out. We're about 5 minutes in and you have still not said anything about how Hex works. Nothing. You've not looked into this. You've not been intellectually honest about this project. Just want to point that out.
Look, man, we care so much about this that we went and literally put it on our website. I love this. I'm sorry, man. Look, I admire honesty. I really do, especially in crypto because we don't get enough of it. But when you go to here, it is not a scam, and it's on your very own website. I'm just saying, guys. Let me see. Is all I'm saying. Maybe dig into it just a little bit. So I did. You asked, I provide.
He's digging into it. All right, let's figure out what you're digging into. I want to see it.
So I was curious about who is the founder of this particular feast, and apparently it's Richard Hart. Now, the one thing that you want to know, you don't want to invest in people who invest in somebody who might wear a t-shirt or something like that. It should always be really glitzy, glamorous suits. It should be over the top. And he should be successful himself. Richard Hart owns the world's largest cut diamond, $10 million in watches, and raised money for medical research. He owns the quickest Ferrari ever made and the most expensive Rolex ever made. He's got $10 million in watches and $3 million in cars. With an IQ of 145, he invented Hex.com, which went up in price 10,000 times. He gave over $500 million of free money to Bitcoin. because, you know, money is free. It's just this magic box. If you listen to SBF, it's just this magic box that you dip your hand into and you pull out money.
Okay, we're gonna go into this. I don't want to really make this about Richard Hart. We know that Richard Hart does this outrage marketing to cut through the noise. And again, you're playing right into those hands. But I will say this. Richard was minting 50 Bitcoin blocks of Bitcoin on his home computer at the advent of Bitcoin at the beginning. 50 Bitcoin blocks for free, just pressing an EXE. Pressing the enter key. He was a retired multimillionaire before crypto or even before Bitcoin. He's been retired for 20 some years with his own company. I think he had 200 some employees that he sold. That's a very important it's a very important fact to point out here. It's very important. I also want to say this. Money actually is free in crypto. You were making some smug comments about money not being free. How many people in this chat right now have received free money via airdrops? Raise your hand. Put some emoji in there. How many people? I want his followers to be able to look back through here. Saying money is not free. In cryptocurrency, money actually is free. Very, very interesting. Let's keep going here.
He created the world's largest free airdrop of coins through pulsechain.com. He also called the Bitcoin top 2 cycles in a row. So what I'm saying, and this, oh my God, this thing just goes on and on. There's his diamond. Look at him. There's his talking. Love the jacket. I admire that. And look, here's his watches. Here's his cars. Here's his private plane. Here's everything saying that this man can be trusted because look at all the damn money he has, right? He writes books. He gives seminars. I'm just saying, tip top. This is the kind of person that you want to trust with your money. And call me skeptical. A little bit. Call me skeptical. So one of the things I love about crypto, I love this about crypto more than I love about anything else, is it is virtually impossible for you to hide transactions in crypto. If it exists on chain, it's documented somewhere. So we went and looked because, honestly, it's not that hard. And a little bit of research on your own side will probably save you from some kind of massacre like this. So this is the actual wallets. Now, we pulled these wallet addresses and sleuthed them down a little bit straight from here. This is the smart contract. That's Hex. That's where it goes through. So if you go to etherscan.io, you can see it right there. Punch that in. You're going to find out everything that you want to know about this particular wallet, including transactions, internal transactions, and ERC20 token transactions, because this is where it really got interesting. Now, keep in mind, I worked with a partner of mine, and we looked at this for about 20 minutes. So some of the confusing things on this particular wallet, this particular transaction, everything that's going on with this, are some of the tokens that are coming into it. Now, this was really, really interesting because these are the big ones. That's the one that you want to pay attention to, because this is all the money that everybody's putting in, but you wonder who has the ability to pull money out. Now, I can make a guess. I don't think I need to. I think you know. But let's...
Okay, who has the ability to pull money out? I have a sneaking suspicion he's really about to step in it here. But we'll check it out.
Let's entertain it for a little bit anyway and just pretend that this is on the up and up.
So this was... this video was created It was created 15 hours ago, so that would have been the 15th. And he's referring to a transaction of 10,000 units of DRX that was sent to the Hex contract. So let's check this out. We'll follow along with him. And we'll check and see what's happening here. We'll go there. Do that. Pull this up. Okay. So I've got it there. Cool. Now... let us follow along here with him. And I'm going to move this closer here. Okay. No, wrong one.
I started looking at some of these big token amounts that were coming in here. This one was fascinating to me, by the way. This is Proof of Up. This is actually a token. There's Niju. That one was kind of cool. This one I loved. Tasuka, Protectors of the Realm. Now this token there's a billion of them and 54 wallets. So 54.
So the question, I think that he's trying to use this to make a point that Hex is a scam because people are sending ERC20s to the contract. Is that the point? Let's do this. Let's go to the contract address for Hex, and we're just going to take this. If you go to the contract address that ends in Echo Bravo 39, and you go to here to token, there are $999,249 worth of ERC token in the Hex contract. Why? Because people do dumb things all the time. They send their crypto to contract addresses. All right, and if you don't believe me, let's go to Uniswap. All right, let's go to Uniswap here. All right, Uniswap. Uniswap contract ends in Foxtrot 984. 513,948 ERC dollars worth of ERC 20 tokens. A little bit more. You've got Uniswap, you've got Tether, you've got Unify, you've got Sheeb, you've got ETH Legend, you've got Celsius, you've got Dogelon coin, you've got Ampleforth, you've got Stat5 Farm. Even some people sent Hex, 1,000 Hex to the contract because people don't know how to use decentralized exchanges sometimes, new people. 2,166 CFI, Axion, Pillar, DAI stablecoin, Wrapped, whatever, Synthetics, Nexius, Digimax. Guys, Porfag, that's a popular one. Nangecoin, PKG token, Doberman. So I'm interested to see what point he makes here. This is Uniswap, and obviously Hex. We've got $947,000 of Hex that have been sent to the Hex contract that are essentially burned, right? Because there's no way to kind of get that out. ERC 20s, 33,000. There's a lot of different ones in here, and the spoofing stuff. So we'll get into that too. I want to see this point that he makes.
People actually have anything to do with Tesuka, Protectors of the Realm, and it just so happens that 19,108,396 of them ended up over here being swapped and transferred. So,
hold on, he said swapped and transferred. What do you actually mean? It wasn't swapped. It was transferred to the Hex contract. Don't say it was transferred into Hex. Don't try to be intellectually dishonest here. I'm going to call you out on it because these little details matter and you're trying to be a wordsmith.
These things were pulled out. Now, there is value in it. It was pulled out to this one called DRX Global. So I tried to...
Okay, now there's an out here. So what this indicates, let's go to the Hex contract. Let's find what he's talking about. ERC token transfers. And this is the one that he's talking about, DRX Global. This is very important. This is going to be a cool observation and a cool learning experience for some people. It says out. That means that that Hex token was sent out to this contract number from the contract address sent out. Except when you click on the transaction details, where did it come from? 395 Delta. Let me ask you something. Is 395 Delta the same as Echo Bravo 39, the Hex contract? No, it's not. Well, Brandon, why is this? What's happening with this? Why does this happen? Guys, it's called spoofing. I wish he had flipped over to the next page because I've seen this before. It's called spoofing. Spoofing is a real thing in crypto. Now, what it does, it makes it seem like that tokens are being transferred out from the Hex contract to a wallet or another contract. But when you look at the transaction hash, you see that it did not actually come from Echo Bravo 39, the Hex contract. Now, how is that? It's because the ERC standard transfer and transfer from functions, they can be modified to allow any arbitrary address to be the sender of the tokens. This is spoofing. This is what happens. It happens on every single contract out there. So a lot of scammers, what they'll do, they'll act like it's coming from Hex. They'll send these tokens in, And then people try to use those tokens and get exploited because they go back to the contract address that it came from and they try to pull value and they get their wallets drained. That's what's happening here. Now, with all due respect, I'm sorry you had to learn that lesson on stream. I'm sorry I had to react and show you how that works, but I'm going to prove it to you even more. All right, let's hit view all. Let's scroll down here. Just a lot of transactions in, a lot of dum-dums, people maybe altruistically burning their hex by sending it to the contract address, whatever the case may be here. Let's keep going. Look at all these outs. Look at all these outs. So what you're telling me right now is the contract, the OA, sent 100,000 hex to all of these individual wallets 115 days and 8 hours ago as a batch transaction. It all happened at the same time. Pages and pages, actually 148 pages. Let's go to the very end. 148 pages of 100,000 X or 100,000 hex to individual No, that is not. How do we know? Let's take a look at any of these. The transaction hash. The question is, did it come from EEB39? No, they modified the send to show the hex contract number, but actually it came from 1 Foxtrot 18. That's how dangerous this stuff is, folks. All right. Now we'll go back to you, Dark Side, and let you go ahead and finish your point that I just proved categorically false. Now, I'm not going to hold it against you because you just didn't know that that's what happens. But that's how people get wrecked. So in most cases, the extent of the damage with this type of spoofing is limited to a bag holding a token with 0 value. That's about it. But in a lot more dangerous cases, again, this is also a phishing attempt. You can steal private keys. You can do this with NFTs, which are ERC 721 standards. It's dangerous. All right. But we just wanted to teach you that, but we'll let you keep talking.
Get to DRX Global via the Brave browser because all I use is Brave. Big fan of that.
Let me go back a little bit.
It literally of them ended up over here being swapped and transferred. So these things were pulled out. Now there is a value and it was pulled out to this one called DRX Global. So I tried to get to DRX Global via the Brave browser because all I use is Brave. Big fan of that. And it literally wouldn't let me. It wouldn't let me pull it up on BAT. But fortunately, it did let me pull it up over here on Firefox. So we started to take a look at what this is about. Now, this is drxinvest.com. Eerily familiar, absolutely 100% eerily familiar to everything that they're doing on Hex, but it's over here and it's next generation crypto profit. How easy is it? Well, I took a look because I like to be promised the world, and apparently I can get that here because I want you to look at the plans. So if you invest a minimum of $6,100, you will receive an interest rate of 45% after 96 hours. All you have to do is invest now. 30%.
All right, so if you guys just got here, what he's doing, he's going to one of the transfer ends, which is a scam, one of the transfer ends. And in fact, I didn't show you guys this either. Even Etherscan says this transaction involves a token with a poor reputation. Please be careful if you choose to interact with the token. And then you go to each one of these transaction hashes and there's a danger caution sign attached to it. So now, I guess to try to bolster his story and twist things up, he's going to he found the DRX website. I'll be interested to see what conclusion he comes up with.
After 72 hours, the more you invest, the more you push in, the greater your returns. Now, where have you heard something like that before, huh? Where have you ever heard anything like that before? Because if you will deposit here a minimum of $46,000 US, then you're going to get 200%, guys, just like that. Big round of applause for true altruism. And I'm certain that if you try to pull your money out, it's going to be right there, plus 200% of the interest that you're going to collect. Building strong coin ecosystem. I love misprints, man. Building strong coin ecosystem that is sustained through decentralized distribution and investment ICO-based reward system. Great. Can we get some details on this? Because this is Richard Hart. Just follow.
So he is making the statement that this website, DRX, which is a proven scam on Etherscan, and also was a phishing attempt on the Hex contract, and we've proven that it is, he's saying that Richard Hart owns this website. Now, he didn't have all the information that I'm giving you now, but I'll be interested to see, again, what conclusion he comes up with after this.
All of these simple steps, and you're going to start earning with us. You're going to open an account, you're going to deposit funds, you're going to earn enough profit, and you're going to withdraw funds. Just like that, guys. Piece of cake. So what we actually have going on over here is pretty cool. Now, in any normal world, we would call this money laundering. That's what we would call this, is money laundering.
There we have it. There's the conclusion. Richard Hart is money laundering using the DRX token. Money laundering using DRX. I just hope you just kind of set the record straight. That's all I hope. I hope that you set the record straight with your people. Because it's garbage. It's complete and utter garbage, man. I don't know how else to say it.
Anything of any real store of value in this particular thing was pulled out approximately 2 years ago, and it was pulled out in the form of 7,000 and 8,000 Ethereum. Just pulled out, gone, off it went to.
Okay, so now he's getting into where did the Ethereum go? He said this happened 2 years ago. 2 years ago, all right. Where did the Ethereum go? Where'd it go? Why don't you tell us? I'm going to introduce you to something called the adoption amplifier. I'm going to teach you about these things because you don't know. You don't know. You're trying to look smart in front of your followers, the people that are paying you to give them solid advice and direction. But ultimately, you don't know what you're talking about. So what was the adoption amplifier? I'm going to talk to you about Hex because you didn't research it and you didn't bother to. This allowed people in the very beginning to be able to transform their ETH into Hex. You could send your ETH to a lobby. Your daily percentage of ETH sent to the lobby transforms into that same percentage of Hex available that day. Right? So what did this do? People were used to the concept of an ICO. What's the problem with the ICO? The ICO is an issue because it raises money through a centralized entity. Raises money for Ethereum, for example. It was brilliant because this is not an ICO. You were able to mint your own Hex tokens by putting Ethereum into this contract. You could mint your Hex tokens. It allowed people to do their own work to mint their Hex using Ethereum. Okay, so then the question becomes, if Bitcoiners or people with other ERC20s were to come in and they were to transform, let's say they sold to Ethereum and then took their Ethereum and they transformed it into Hex. Or let's say you had Bitcoin and you switched it to Ethereum and then you transferred it into Hex, transformed it into Hex. Well, what happened to all that Ethereum? What happened to the 7,000 or what happened to the 8,000 Ethereum? Did you ask that question? Did you ask that question of Ethereum? What happened to all that money? The billions of dollars that have been sold off from the Ethereum Foundation and Vitalik? Did you ask that same question of the folks at Solana who raised millions and millions of dollars? Did you know that 31,500 Bitcoin were actually transformed into Ethereum at an average price of about 31 cents? And actually, it wasn't transformed. It was just straight, put your money here and you're going to get this back. Don't you see the importance of this? It doesn't matter where the 7,000 or 8,000 went. It does not matter. It doesn't matter. This is at the beginning of the contract. This is how every cryptocurrency, operates, except Hex did it a million times better because there was no negative externality of a security, because you were the one that were transforming. You did all of the work to do that. That's the important thing. I've got some facts here. More than 60 million Ethereum tokens were bought at an average Ethereum ICO price of roughly 31 cents. During the ICO, investors were able to obtain ETH in exchange for Bitcoin. Initially, 1 Bitcoin was enough to buy 2,000 Ether tokens, but by the end of the sale, the Ether ICO price increased to 1,337 ETH for each Bitcoin. At launch, the Ethereum platform had 72 million tokens, out of which over 60 million belong to ICO investors. The ETH token sale is widely considered one of the most successful ICOs to date, with more than 31,500 Bitcoin raised. And you're upset because people were able to come in and take their stupid ERC20s, transform it into ETH, and then get Hex from it. And you're mad because you don't know where the Ethereum went. Was the Ethereum recycled back into the Hex price to help pump price? We don't know. Is that any different than a stock split? No. It keeps the value up.
Off it went to glory. So if you want to know how Richard Hart is supporting his lifestyle, and again, let's take another look, because I love this. If you want to know how he's supporting your lifestyle, it's all the money that he just hemorrhaged out of Hex.com.
He keeps saying hemorrhage. So here's what we're gonna do. He keeps hemorrhaging out, and the funny thing is, nothing was hemorrhaged out of Hex. The OA has not sold a token. You realize that, right? The OA has not sold a token. Now, let's go to Uniswap. Let's go to V3. Sorry, guys. I don't want to have to connect the wallet. Uniswap, V3, liquidity. Got a new computer, and most of my bookmarks didn't transfer because I didn't want to use the same account. Pools. All right, here they are. You're saying that they are siphoning money off of Hex, and I'm saying that is not correct. What we're going to do here, we're going to take a look at the pools. And we are going to go to Hex. All right, we're going to go to the pools. These are the 3 pools that Hex currently has. Total value lock 6.79 million, 2.2 million. Most of the pairs are in Hex USDC. And then some of the pairs, about 30% of the pairs are in the Hex ETH side. And this is just Uniswap V3. There are other decentralized exchanges out there, Uniswap V2, for example, as well. Right? So this is going to show you, not only can you look on etherscan.io and you can see all the transactions, the buys, the sells. You can go to matcha.xo. You can see limit orders. You can see the liquidity coming in, liquidity coming out, new liquidity placed. This is pretty cool with V3. But it's very, very disingenuous for you to make the assumption that Hex is insolvent at this point. And that's essentially what you're saying. Here are all the pairs here. Hex PLSD, Maxi, Hex Icosa, Hex ETH, Hex Hedron, Hex USDC. And I'm showing this for all of your views here. $33 million of volume in the last 7 days, for example, on the Hex USDC pair on V3, right? Not only that, what we're going to do, we're going to go to tradingview.com and we're going to go check the price chart. Now, like I said before, you are actually the type of guy that really likes to shill AMP. I didn't know a lot about AMP, but I wanted to take a look to understand what your understanding of this is. Now, this is on the logarithmic scale, and this doesn't actually show the full price chart, right? But I'm going to search for AMP, and let's just compare charts here. Let's compare charts at the bottom of a bear market. AMP, USDT. Where did it launch originally? Poloniex typically has good history. Let's check. This doesn't look like a good representative. I want to give you a fair shake here. And then we're going to get into some other things because you also like to talk about decentralized finance. You like to talk about things that matter and things that aren't scams. So I'll give you the opportunity to respond back. Is this the full chart of AMP? I don't believe it. Let me check here. AMP. I don't see the logo. Let's go to coinmarketcap.com. Let's go to AMP. Check the logo. There it is. Logarithmic. Go to all. There's your chart, logarithmically speaking, right? All-time high of 8 cents, and it's now down to about 0.003. All right, so what's that? All-time high of 0.08 divided by 0.003. You're a 26x down. All right, 99% down. And you compare that to the hex chart. All right. And actually, this is going to be a little bit off. But from I would say that we're probably about a 200 to 300x up from where we started right now. We were a 10,000x up at the very top. So you guys are down by 99%. We're up by 3,000%. That's a big difference, right? And this isn't even the bottom. I gave myself a little leeway at the bottom, right? 1,000x to 3,000x up. Let's take a look at AMP. Let me pull this up here. All right. This is the AMP token. When you compare this to Hex, when you go to hex.com, let's go to hex.com on Etherscan. One of the first things that you can notice here is all of the transactions that have to do with decentralized exchanges. That's one of the biggest things that I notice. All right. So we've got Uniswap v3. We've got Uniswap v2. We have a bunch of DEX aggregators out here as well. Now I'm sorting by DEX trades. So we're going to kind of go over this and take a look at this. You got buys and sells with USDC, mostly Uniswap. Mostly Uniswap here, right? Now I want to compare that. I want to compare that to AMP because we are all about being very transparent. All right, we're going to go to transfers. Gemini, Coinbase, Gemini 10, Coinbase 2, Crypto.com, Coinbase, Gemini, Flexa, Crypto.com, Gemini, Flexa, Gemini 4, Gemini 5, Gemini 2. All right, cool. So now we see that most of this volume of trading is done on decentralized exchanges. Do you agree or do you not agree that having a majority of the supply on decentralized exchanges is a bad thing? Because of what we've seen the past year, the past 18 months, the past 2 years, well, hell, since the beginning of crypto. All right, let's go to this. Let's check this out. We'll go to holders. We're going to go to token holders chart. Who are the top holders of the AMP token? 22.27% is held by Gemini, one of the storage wallets at Gemini. 21.87% is held by the storage wallets in Flexa. We have 21% that is held by an unknown wallet, probably a bigger exchange like Coinbase, because I know that they're also trading this. Gemini 6, a smaller one. Now we're going to be able to tell a little bit better who owns a vast majority of the supply. Centralized exchanges. So what's the problem with that? Yeah, centralized exchanges. Uniswap on Hex, AR, I'm answering you. Uniswap on Hex is what we're seeing decentralized exchanges. We see most of our trading volume on DEXs with Hex. However, with AMP, you see something completely different. What we're seeing with AMP is the fact that most of the volume and most of the supply are held by entities that have custodial agreements with their customers, which means if one of these entities go insolvent, then they will take the value that's on those chains to use to pay off creditors. And you're out here slamming Hex. You're out here slamming Hex, immutable code, decentralized. You get to basically pay your own rewards by minting your own rewards. It's your choice whether or not you want to lock it up. You're making these outrageous and outlandish statements that suggest otherwise, and it's just not true.
That's the great thing about crypto. It really is that you can't hide anything. If you did it and you did it on chain, there's a record. There's a record of it somewhere. So I'm not going to carry on this. I will do it on the live stream. We're going to, Emery agreed to come on with me, and we're just going to plumb the depths of this a little bit and see where a lot of this ended up, because this is malfeasance to just an epic level.
I would actually counter that with what you're saying is malfeasance to an epic level. Now I will say this, guys. I reached out to the producer of the show, and I also commented right here. Hey man, would love to come on your show and chat about Hex. Where's the best place to get in contact? And he gave me an email address, bella@thepodcast.com. And I sent an email there. I'm hoping that they reach out so I can come on the show and I can talk to them about this.
And again, though, as we know, it's right there on their website, that this is not a scam. Look, there it is. It's not a scam. Are you too late to buy? You bet. You bet you're not too late to buy. You should hurry. Look at how much everything.
Are you too late to buy Bitcoin? Were you too late to buy Bitcoin 2 years ago? Were you too late to buy Bitcoin 5 years ago? What about 7 years ago? What about 8 years ago? What about 9 years ago? Are you too late?
Thing went up, so you bet. Is it too risky? Imagine how risky it was to buy Bitcoin. I can't afford to use Ethereum. They are really expensive, but we have a way around that. All you got to do is follow what we're doing.
Now, let's see that. I can't afford to use Ethereum. He says Ethereum fees are very expensive. Sending an ERC20 like Hex might cost around $10 in mining fees. A Uniswap by $100 and ending Hex stakes up to $1,000. This prices out users on the lower end and makes it really hard to onboard new users. To lower transaction gas fees, Richard Hart is building a new Ethereum fork called Pulse Chain. In the meantime, use a staking calculator to estimate the potential profit of a stake. Only start one if you will earn more than $100. Otherwise, it is not worth the Ethereum gas fee. Well, that's really nice for them to say that. Hey, listen, if the gas fee's too high, don't even start a stake. It's not worth it. But you didn't hear him talk about that, did you? No, you didn't.
We're doing here. Can I lose money in Hex? Yes, but you're already losing money. So why?
Now he stops there.
Why not lose it with us?
Why not lose it with us? But again, he reads the headlines and does not provide the context. All right.
All you got to do is follow what we're doing here. Can I lose money in Hex?
It says, could I lose money in Hex? Yes, you can. That is honest. But you're already losing money. How? Every day the government money printing devices prices higher and higher. The money printing drives prices higher and higher. Cryptocurrency is the highest appreciating asset class in the history, and Hex is overperforming. Bitcoin, for instance, has never been down in price for longer than about 3 years. Consider trying something very small to learn about it. Maybe put $100 to see how Hex works. Does that sound like he's trying to get people to shovel money in? Is that what it sounds like? No. But you can torture data and you can torture information any way that you want to make it say what you want, and that's what you're doing. Again, just not a very honest thing to do here.
Yes, but you're already losing money. So why not lose it with us? Let us take care of it. And it's just more and more of this stuff, man. Look, is Hex ethical? I didn't look at this one. Is Hex ethical? Is Hex a cult? Look here.
Is Hex ethical? All investing and speculating boils down to you putting some money in, waiting, and expecting more out later. DeFi is mostly people trading and losing their money to exchanges and market makers. I will point out that, again, the token that you're shilling right now, AMP, is primarily on exchanges, and people are getting chopped up. People are getting chopped up because of that. Just want to point that out. Trading is bad for your health, and the majority of people lose versus holding USD. They even lose harder against just holding cryptocurrencies with product market fit. Trading is bad, and most DeFi and ranking sites and ads are for trading. Imagine if we all just bought amazing things instead. Imagine how high that price would be. Most of Bitcoin's trading volume are people that are speculating from a day-to-day basis, trying to scalp the market. That's not very good for price, is it? Most people are using margin on these exchanges. People want access to that margin because they think they're going to hit it big. And just like Richard says, they get put through the meat grinder. I'm sure you know that. I haven't listened to all of your content, but I'm sure you know that. I'm just asking for honesty here.
Is Hex a cult? Why would Hex being a cult be bad for the price? Wait. I'm sorry, guys.
Is Hex a cult? Why would Hex being a cult be bad for price? You seem pretty cultish when you shill the things that you own. Bitcoin maximalists seem pretty cultish when they shill the things that they own. That's the point being made here. And it goes right over your head because you're not interested in anything. You have a preconceived notion. You're going to stick to that at all prices.
Guys, I'm trying here.
All costs.
Many rivalries are merely the result of very passionate users. Ford versus Chevy, Apple versus Android. The list goes on and on. People just love Hex so much that they are even getting tattoos. I haven't clicked this yet. Let's do it together. I can't wait to see what a bad decision people made. Well, here's testimonials. We got Crypty Girl. We got Conrad, Zen, Richie. Come on, show me the tattoos. Somebody's got to have one, man. You made so much money. You were so happy with all of this. Oh, they're not going to show up. We'll see the cars, maybe the tattoos. You know what? I'll revisit this. I want to see. I don't think we'll get a lot of views, man. Whatever was going to happen with Hex already happened. So I don't think we'll get a lot on that. But I would love to hear from some of the not cultists, as if that's a bad thing. It's on your website. I would love to hear from some of you guys, man. I'll tell you what, if there's anybody, a strong advocate for Hex that would like to come on the show, we will dedicate a full hour just to you. I will not interrupt. I will let you have your say, as long as you are willing to respect my side of the argument. And my side's going to come with Etherscan, just saying. And
I hope that if you do invite me on your show, that you do bring Etherscan. I hope so. Or at least apologize. Either or.
Anyway, guys, that's it. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's on the up and up. Don't worry about it. It's on their website. It's not a scam. It's right there on top. You do you. This is not one that I would personally invest in, but this channel does not give financial advice. So knock yourself out. Questions or comments, Scott@thepodcast.com. I take any and all emails. I like to get them, and I respond to all of them. Until next time, please stay safe. Please.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that would be kind of cool to send Richard. I think that'd be pretty neat. What do you guys think here, man? A little bit out of control? It's the same thing every time, folks. It's the same thing. I've done so many of these reaction videos at this point, and well, I haven't done many reaction videos, but I've seen so many of these videos. I've done four or five of these things, and it's the same stuff every time. The thing that I'm waiting for is somebody, a skeptic, to do a reaction video and actually learn about Hex. Learn about how it operates. Because once you learn that, and once you go all in on intellectual honesty and trying to understand something before you make a judgment, you provided absolutely no facts about how this contract operates whatsoever this entire time. In fact, you said that Richard Hart, what was the website that he owned? The money laundering website, DRX? You said that he owned DRX, and you said that an obvious phishing scam that I had to teach you about here on stream, an obvious phishing scam was an out from the Hex contract. Check chat here. Chat, tell me something, chat. Let's see. Let me see what chat's got to say here. All right, we'll go way back. And listen, guys, I'm being chill. I'm being easy with all this because, again, some of us were in these same types of situations where we took a look at Hex and we were like, hey, this thing's crazy. This thing's absolutely crazy. And it's very easy for us to talk about what we know. And sometimes what we know is not a lot when it comes to topics that we're not comfortable with. So what I'm going to do is take all of his keywords, I'm going to copy them, and I'm going to tag them in my video. So when anybody sees his video of Hex, and I'll probably help him out with some followers too. I'm sure you guys will go and just tell them how much you love the video. But the other thing is when anybody searches for Hex scam reaction videos or Hex scam videos on YouTube, mine will come up right next to his. That's important here. All right, Michael Lamont. Scam, 1 year on, 2 years, 3 years, on and on. Price goes up. All of these really, really important people in the crypto community are now buying Hex. Our average stake length is actually up to, what, 7 years now? 7 or 8 years, I believe. That's pretty daggone neat. Terrafin says this is funny. 3 years later, after 3 years of flawless uptime and no victims, they're still calling it a Ponzi. This is the anger stage when they realize they dropped the ball. Hex McKinsey says, hi, darling. Boring times for many, amazing times for Hexkins. Absolutely, Hex McKinsey. Nice to have you in here. Great breakdown on these Fudder Maxis and their understanding of Hex, Mr. Rags. Etsaki says, laughing doesn't strengthen an argument, especially a fallacious one. RH could have paid for all of that lavishness just from the airdrops he's received. That's a good point. Can you, like the Hedron airdrops? I know people that got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars just off of Hedron airdrops. Free money out of thin air. Free money out of thin air. Terrafin says that guy's mother is a scam. He's a rug pull to our society. Hex Flyer, Ancient Kushite, what is up? Here we go again. Who is this guy? You should ask him to explain T-shares. That would be the first thing that I would ask him. I would ask him, explain my contract. Now, hopefully he sees this. Hopefully he sees this video and he can take my points and come up with counterpoints. And we can actually have a legitimate discussion on his channel if he is actually going to invite me on. Jawa's Sniper Nest, hello. Vladimir Kranik says, OMG, I'm so fed up with these fake experts who speak with super confidence. It's just incredible and sad. Tell me about Hex without telling me about Hex equals T-shares. Jawa's Sniper Nest, hello. Do you mean sex? Were you centralized exchange? Were you saying Dex ramp? I must have messed up my words there. Chad D to the power of 13. What is up, fam? Hexed me. AR says if their producers watch this stream, they won't contact because it goes against their narrative. You always got to give people a shot. It's not a big deal, right? You know, there are some things that you know, I can't explain away, and you have to be okay with it. What are one of those things? You have to be okay with the centralized ownership of Hex. If you're not okay with that, then don't touch this contract. Some entity owns it. We don't know if it's Richard. We don't know if it's business partners. We have no clue. Right? But then you look at society at large, and you look at all these other cryptocurrencies, like AMP, for example. Was it like 80% of their supply is owned by people that are centralized exchanges, and then 21% of that, we have no idea who owns that. Maybe he does. But they're going to blame it on Hex as if it's a bad thing. It happens in traditional finance. It happens in the stock market, publicly traded companies. People own massive amounts of shares between the major shareholders who happen to be running the companies. Chaotic Creations FX Studios, Johnny in the house. Get him, Brandon. D-Hex Essentialist. I'm going to download the video and make sure to show it to his users next year. You know, maybe we can build some bridges here. Maybe we can build some bridges. I think it's quite obvious why I would get a little bit up in arms when somebody says that Richard Hart is money laundering through a verified etherscan.io address that has been flagged as very suspicious. By the way, Rags, you're looking especially ginge in the stream today, buddy. Have you added new lighting to the setup or more carrots in your diet? I am a little bit orange. You know, Donald Trump announced his presidency yesterday. Now, in the wintertime, my beard gets really, really red. In the summertime, it kind of goes strawberry blondish. It's much lighter. Rags is dancing with the Furus, listening in from the gym. I love centralized ownership, Davis says. Absolutely. Benevolent centralized ownership is the way to go. The Beach Whale says, I think you should go. Leave RH out of it. It's time he watches the battle. I'm down. Let's go. Orange Man back. Back again. Orange Man back. Tell a friend. Yeah. So, guys, it's been fun. It's been grand. It's been gravy. We talked about a lot. This is just another one of our videos here that we do. I don't know why you show up here. You guys constantly show up. You guys constantly waste your time. It is what it is. I will remind you that, let me actually check this out. We haven't talked about this. We'll go to Texan.cc. If you guys haven't claimed free money out of the air, airdrop 2 days, 22 hours, and 42 minutes left, right? You can click here, and this will take you, I think you can click here, check airdrop eligibility. You'll be able to see if you are eligible for 1 million Texan tokens at launch. I do want to point this out. I'm pretty excited about this, actually. Last night, Daniel Miller, who was, he's the president of the TNM, he was on a podcast with Tim Pool, and he hung out for about an hour. And Daniel Miller is the president of the TNM, who is the people that we partnered with their donation drive, right? Texas Nationalist Movement. And they were able to talk about all sorts of things. Now, Tim Pool has about 1.5 million subs. Thought that was pretty neat. Check it out. I'll put that link in the description, actually. But guys, as always, please do not like, comment, or subscribe. We're going to go ahead and end this thing. We're going to put some outro music in, and we're going to have a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, be good.